Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Fred Wass, and I'm a Senior Manager for Hospitality Integrations and API Strategy, and I'm very excited to be able to talk to you today about OHIP, our Oracle Hospitality Integration Platform. The session we're going to go through today is entitled Integration is Everything, Discover Self-Service OHIP. So let's get started. So what do we want to cover today? Well, today we're going to have a brief introduction to OHIP. Then we're going to actually go into two demonstrations. I'm going to go into a demonstration about OHIP, the Oracle Hospitality Integration Platform, and the user experience that it offers. And then I'm also going to take you through a contactless guest journey demonstration to show you the power of our APIs in real time. So first of all, what is OHIP? Well, OHIP is our Oracle Hospitality Integration Platform. And as you can see on this slide here, it's a unified platform for modern APIs. We've moved to REST APIs, which is a modern API experience for today's world. And we've not only moved to modern APIs, but we've unlocked thousands of capabilities as REST APIs. Opera itself has over 3,000 business capabilities, and we've exposed all of those capabilities as APIs. And as you can see in the lower right corner of this slide, you can see that that's almost 3 times as many API capabilities as compared to other PMS vendors. The good thing about this API platform and the APIs themselves is that it is included with your purchase of the Opera Cloud Foundation SKU as a customer. If you're a vendor, you pay a small transactional fee per call. But the most important thing, and I think one of the guiding principles as we set out to build this new integration platform is to make this a self-service experience. So this whole experience from onboarding to discovering APIs to being able to make your first API call to an actual Opera system is all done in a self-service way. And not only that, but we no longer make validations mandatory. So you can build integrations, you can stand up an integration and get it built very quickly and hit the ground running very, very quickly. We also have quick access to innovation via our cloud marketplace. So any partner that has a solution that is exposed out on our cloud marketplace, you can just purchase that solution right then and there and quickly connect it to your Opera instance and be ready to go. So with that, let's actually get into a demonstration here. Okay, so this is our Oracle Hospitality Integration Developer Portal, as we call it. And you'll notice that you land on this page here where you first see our API catalog. Now, this API catalog, as I mentioned before, is quite extensive, over 3,000 APIs. And as you scroll, you can see that we've got many different APIs to choose from. One of the nice things about this particular experience is that we allow you to search. So just to show you how you can browse our APIs and what it actually offers, I'm going to just search for reservation APIs. And you'll notice that I have a few options that have come up here. Let's go into this Opera Cloud reservation API here. This is an online and interactive documentation, which makes it very easy for you to understand how to use the APIs and to visualize the API structures. So let's say you want to identify how to actually fetch a reservation from our system. Well, you're first going to start here on this page where you're going to get an introduction to the API itself. It's going to describe you some details. But on the left-hand side here, if I navigate to our reservation area, let's say that I want to actually get a reservation, which I happen to know is the bottom one here. So I'm going to want to get a list of reservations. So clicking into this gray highlighted area is going to show some information on what we call our console. And as you can see, you're going to get access to the mock URI and all of the query parameters that are associated for this particular API operation. Now, as you can imagine, a reservation has many, many, many attributes. So there are a number of query parameters available to you to allow you the flexibility as a calling system to decide how much or how little information you want back in your API response. So it's quite powerful. So you'll notice as you scroll down here in the query parameters that you have some query parameters, for example, the search type, which is an enumerated set of values. And as you click in here, we show you all the possible enumerations. Others are string values, others are arrays, And as you start to see samples of these APIs, you can really start to figure out how to get exactly the information you're after using very simple calls to the system. I do want to scroll down a little bit further to show you an actual sample here. A lot of query parameters in this one. So as we scroll down, you can see that you actually also see the API structure. So you can see all the information about the API as you open these navigation panes, and you can see all the different attributes and all the different elements that are part of the API itself. So you get everything that you need right at your fingertips in an interactive way. So once you've actually browsed APIs, you might ask yourself, well, how do I go ahead and start calling these APIs against a real Opera Cloud system? Well, the first thing you need to do is you actually need to register your application. And you do that by going to the Applications tab. And on the Applications tab, I've got several test applications already here, but we're going to go ahead and create a new application. So I'm going to click on the Register Application button, and I'm going to fill in very few details here, quite simple. So I'm going to just call this a mobile application because I'm going to use that during my demonstration for my contactless journey. Okay, so I'm going to enter a little bit of information here. I'm going to select an application type. Let's just call this a web application. This is just metadata. And then we'll just call this a mobile application. We'll give that the contact name. And I'm going to call this mobile application 02@test.com. This email is an important bit of information because if we ever need to send any email notifications out to you, then we will send to this email address as in file. So while you can put a personal email address here, it's considered a best practice to actually use an email address that many people can monitor at the same time. Continuing on with the information here, and we'll call this mobile application test 02. Go ahead and click next. And the next page I'm brought to is a page where I can actually subscribe this application or subscribe to APIs for this application. So I'm going to subscribe to two different sets of APIs. I'm going to subscribe to our early adopter APIs and what we call our hospitality APIs. And again, you can see all of this API information on the first tab up here in the developer portal called APIs. After I've actually subscribed to the APIs, I'm going to go ahead and register my application. And with just a few clicks, I've been able to register this app. And you can see that registration is complete, and this application now shows in my list of applications here. If we view the details of this application, you can see that there's some very important information here. One of the things that was issued as a part of this application registration is what we call an application key. And you can see that right here. You can actually show the key itself by just clicking the button show. You can copy the key and it'll be copied to your clipboard. Or if for any reason you need to reissue the application key, you can do that yourself in a self-service way by just navigating to this area of the application and clicking the reissue button. Of course, it'll prompt you to ask if you want to be sure you want to reissue. Yes, you do. And just like that, you've reissued a new application key. The other thing that you'll see here is that it's going to show you which APIs you've subscribed to for this application. Okay, so remember on the previous step, we subscribed to the early adopter APIs as well as the hospitality APIs. Now you'll notice a third tab here, which is an OAuth API. This is going to be required for making any call to the Opera system. And I'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a few moments. The next thing that I want to show you on the developer portal is the environments tab. And on the environments tab, you can see which Opera environments or which you would have access to. And you can view the details of this environment by just clicking the button here, View Details. And you're going to be able to see the gateway for this environment, as well as what we call our client ID and client secret. And there are really 5 pieces of information that are required whenever your application wants to make a call to our Opera system using OHIP. The first is the application key. The second is the client ID and client secret. And then the second and third. And then the fourth and the fifth items are going to be a integration username and password, which I will show you in just a moment. So that is the Oracle Hospitality Developer Portal. Now I'm going to go ahead and continue on, and we're actually going to do a demonstration where I'm going to call APIs against a real live Opera system. What I'd like to call this is Innovation Enabled with OHIP. It's a contactless guest journey demonstration. Okay, so we're going to cover 5 different areas of the guest journey, and we're going to do make real calls to the system using our APIs. The 5 areas that we're going to cover are the booking, pre-arrival, check-in, stay, and checkout. So in the booking, of course, this is where the guest starts their journey. And all of our APIs have the capabilities required to support a contactless shopping and booking experience. Then after the guest books their reservation, we move into the pre-arrival phase of the journey. And we have numerous features that allow a guest to prepare for a speedy, low-touch check-in and to ensure their requests are met, which again are all powered by our APIs. Finally, the guest is ready to check in, and we offer a seamless check-in experience. It can be a mobile curbside check-in to kiosks, guest devices. We have all the options to drive a streamlined check-in process. After your check-in, of course, you're staying in the hotel, and you still want to have that contactless experience. So we make sure that our APIs provide all the right tools to allow the guests to stay engaged with the hotel staff throughout their stay, but keeping physical contact to a minimum. And then last but not least, we do offer through our APIs the ability to check out. We make it very easy for our guests to pay their bill and leave at their convenience without even having to stop at the front desk. So with that, let's jump right into the demonstration. So I've already showed you the OHIP developer portal. Now we're actually going to go into Opera Cloud itself. Okay. Before we get in there, I do want to cover one thing, and that is that we have a public repository where all of our APIs and even Postman collection, so all of our specifications, all of our sample messages, Postman collections are all available on the public internet in GitHub. This is the repository here. And what the demonstration that I'm going to take you through next, this collection is actually available on GitHub for you to download. So you can do this yourself after at the conclusion of this demo. And I will have links to this at the end of the presentation, so you can find this very easily. All right. So first, we're going to go to Opera Cloud here. And you'll notice I'm already logged in. And I'm going to actually take us on a guest journey where there's going to be a guest named Ann Smith that's going to be wanting to book a hotel reservation. She hasn't been traveling in a while due to the obvious circumstances in the world right now, and she's excited to get back out on the road. And with that, she's going to go ahead and start booking her reservation. So she's going to use a mobile application that she's downloaded on her phone to do all of this. And the first thing that the mobile application is going to do is it's going to have to make an authorization call to our system to get an authorization token. All right. Now I mentioned before about these the GitHub repository, and what I've done here is I've downloaded the common workflows from our public GitHub repository, and I'm going to go to this contactless guest journey workflow. And what we've done here is we've listed out in very logical order a series of steps that it would be taking for a particular use case. You'll notice we have other use cases here like check availability or check in and check out. But for purposes of this session, I do want to focus on the contactless guest journey. So as a calling application, the first thing that needs to happen is the application needs to get an authorization token. Now you remember that I mentioned that there are 5 things required in order to call our system successfully. And the first thing is the first 2 things rather, are client ID and client secret, which I have here as variables in my Postman collection. You also are going to need the application key, which you got from registering and onboarding your application into our OHIP developer portal that I just showed. And then the last thing you're going to need is an application username and an application password. And all 5 of those things are going to be required to actually be able to receive an authorization token. So let's go ahead and send this request off now. And you'll notice I got a successful response. And here's my authorization token, this access token. Now I've got my Postman collection here set to automatically store this authorization token so that we can use it for our subsequent calls, but this is the token here, this access token. So the first thing we want to do is we need to actually look up Ann's profile, okay? Now you'll notice that in the application here, if we actually go ahead and search for client relations and then profiles, manage profile, okay, you're going to see that we have many different Smith profiles. So I kind of want to show you here how we can sanitize the criteria so that we can find the actual Smith profile that we want, okay? So going here, manage profile, and I'm going to search here by Smith, last name Smith. And you'll notice that I have, quite a few Smiths that are returned here. Okay. There's even more results that can fit on one page, but I know that I want to find Ann Smith, all right? So if I were to go back to Postman and just go ahead and search here in my query parameters for a last name of Smith, if I make that request, you'll notice here that I get a number of different Smiths returned. Now, just coincidentally, Ann Smith happens to be the first one that's returned. But as I scroll down, as a matter of fact, you'll see here that I've got another Smith profile right here. And if I were to scroll all the way to the bottom, you can see right here that I have a total number of results of 203. So obviously that's not going to help us too much. So we do want to start giving it more information, and these query parameters are going to help us. So I'm going to activate this query parameter to search just for Ann Smith. And now the request is once again successful. And you can see that this Ann Smith is just one profile returned now, okay? And you can see here that total results equals 1. So I'm going to use Ann's profile ID to continue on with my contact list journey. And here's the profile ID right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this variable as the profile ID for my upcoming calls. So I'm still in the booking cycle of the guest journey. So next, Ann's going to want to check hotel availability. So using her application, what she's going to search for is hotel availability. She's actually going to be searching for today's date for one night. So I'm going to go ahead and send that request off. And you can see that we've got a result set here that is returned where I have a collection of rooms and rates available actually. So we have first here, this amount before tax, $3 is the price for one night for this double room type at a rack rate. Now, Ann is interested in, she knows she's been to this hotel before. She knows that she's interested in something a little bit nicer. So she wants to actually go for the superior room. So as you scroll down, you can see in our payload that here is the superior room. And here is the price for the superior room. It's $400, okay? So Ann wants to go ahead and book that reservation. So what we've done here, I'm gonna go ahead and book this reservation. I'm gonna show you actually how simple it is to book the reservation. So there's a few variables that I've got in play here. One is that profile ID. So I'm passing Ann's profile ID, which I obtained from the previous GET profile request. I'm also passing hotel ID, a couple guarantee code, a start date and an end date, the price. Again, I'm echoing this all back to Opera so I can go ahead and create the reservation. Now, before I go ahead and create the reservation, let's actually just take a quick look and see in Opera itself, do we have any arrivals today? Actually, we don't. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this reservation, and I'm going to do that now. And you can see that, again, I got a 201 created, which indicates that this request was successful. Now, there's a location that's indicated here that shows me the ID of the reservation, and that is in the header section here. This 41661 is the reservation ID that we're going to use in our subsequent request. So I'm going to go ahead and set this as our reservation ID variable so I can continue on with the demonstration. All right. Before we go on, let's flip back to Opera and go ahead and see, do we now have any arrivals? And if I just search again, you can see, oh, I actually do have an arrival, and the arrival is for Ann Smith. So if I go into her reservation, you can see that few details here. It's actually for today for one night. It's a superior room, as I showed you already, and the price is $400 a night. And this room is on an arrival status, okay? So there's a few more things now that we've actually made the booking. Now we want to prepare for Ann's stay. So one of the first things we're going to do is Ann's decided, you know what? I actually prefer to stay away from the elevator. So I want to add a preference to my reservation. And what she's going to do is go into her mobile application, and she's going to use the application to say that she prefers to be away from the elevator. Behind the scenes, the application is going to send an API request to Opera, and we're going to have a preference value here that's called away, okay? And that away value, once I send that, I got a 200 okay, indicating that it was successful. You'll notice here that in the profile area, I don't have any preferences noted, but if I refresh this page, just keep your eyes right down here on this profile section. Now I have a preference, okay? And you can see that the preference that was added was away from the elevator. So great, Anne's got her away from elevator all set as part of her pre-arrival specifications. Now she's actually ready to kind of pick her hotel room. The first thing she needs to do is actually get a hotel room. Well, get a hotel room in the sense I want to find the room numbers. And for that, what we're going to do is we're going to make this request called get hotel rooms, and it's going to show me any type that is available. In this case, we have, I'm going to actually unselect this value here for inspected. I'm going to search for any status because I'm not actually at the hotel yet. I know I'm going to be arriving soon, but the mobile application is allowing me to really just search for any room types that are available that match my criteria of my preference criteria of being away from the elevator. So when I go ahead and send this request, you'll notice that I have a number of rooms returned. Okay, the first one here is room 306. Okay, this is a king room. It's away from the elevator. This room status is actually dirty, but it is vacant. Okay, so that's actually a good thing. So let's say that Anne likes room 306. So I'm going to go ahead and select this variable as my room ID, so I can use it in my next call. So she's selected her room number. And by the way, one of the cool things that you could do is actually, you could, with your mobile app, you could overlay these room numbers onto an actual picture or image of the hotel itself to show where the room numbers are in the hotel and what the actual view is. So it's a very cool thing to be able to see all of this information and be able to display that to the guests in a very kind of meaningful and easy way. So Anna's going to go ahead and select room 306. And you'll notice in the payload here that I have a room ID that I previously defined as room 306. Just flipping back over to Opera, you'll notice that the room number here is currently blank at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that when I send this request to assign room 306, again, I got a 201 created. And if I navigate back to Opera and refresh this page, you'll see that Anne's reservation is now in room 306. So the agents in the hotel can see that I've got Anne who is assigned room 306 to her room, but it's currently in a dirty status. So the next step is that Anne wants to actually alert the hotel that she's going to be coming in very soon. And the way she's going to do that is by going into the application and saying that I'm ready to check in. For Opera, we call that a pre-check-in. And what we're going to pass in is the expected time of Anne's arrival. Okay, this is the extent of the API payload, so it's a very lightweight payload. And you'll notice that I'm going to go ahead and send this, and I'm saying that Anne is going to arrive at 1 p.m. Okay, so let's go ahead and send this request. Again, I got a 201 created. And if I navigate back to the reservation, I just want you to keep an eye on this section here called arrival time. All right, and if I refresh the page, you'll notice that the arrival time is now filled in and it's for 1 p.m. So the agents at the hotel now have the knowledge that Anne has already pre-assigned her room. She's already selected, let the hotel know that she's going to be arriving at 1 p.m. So the hotel staff needs to prepare, okay? It might be the morning time. This room is already vacant. So they want to alert the housekeeping manager to let them know that, hey, we need to get room 306 cleaned because our guest, Ms. Smith, is on the way. All right. So let's go ahead. And the other thing I want you to notice is that the arrival status here has changed from just arrival to arrival pre-registered, which again is a further indication that this guest has pre-registered and is ready to come into the hotel. So I want to show you next that room 306 is actually going to be, what we're going to do is we're going to change this room from dirty to clean. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go into my housekeeping board. And I'm going to search here for room types. I'll just put that superior room type in. Other criteria is fine. And you can see here that room 306 is dirty. So let's say that the housekeeper has now finished cleaning this room and she updates the room status from dirty to inspected. She can do that on her mobile device, where Opera can run on the mobile device, or she can use the telephone system, however the hotel chooses to do it. But I'm going to change the status here from dirty to inspected. I'm going to save my changes. Okay. And now the room is inspected. So if we go back to Anne's reservation, we can see here that her room number, 306, is now displaying with the icon here showing that it's an inspected status. But how are you as the mobile application expected to know to inform the guests that the room is ready? Well, what you can do is actually fetch the business event. So Opera has actually generated a business event for this action that occurred, which is changing the room from dirty to clean. And if I send this request off, you can see here that room 306, okay, I've got room 306 that has been changed from dirty to inspected. So as the mobile application sees this information, they can now send a message to Anne to say, your room is ready. We're expecting you, Anne, and we look forward to welcoming you when you're ready to come into the hotel. No need to even stop by the front desk. You can check in right now and we can issue you a digital key. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now with the next step in our journey, which is the check-in step. And for that, we're going to actually, Anna's going to get that notification. So she's going to say, great, I'm ready to check in. All right. And so you'll notice that, again, another lightweight payload with a room ID, room 306, is being sent the application to Opera. And I'm go ahead and send that, and I get another 201 created, which is fantastic. And if you keep your eyes on this part of the screen here, the status part, when I refresh the page, you'll notice that this status has now changed to checked in. So this guest, Ann Smith, is actually officially checked into the hotel now. Now, the mobile application also wants to offer the ability for Anne to have a digital room key. So we have an operation that we offer here called post room keys, and we just need to pass the reservation ID, the date, and when the key starts and when it ends. Okay, so I've got the current date and the current date +1. Okay, so we're ready to go ahead and issue Anne her key. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to send this request for post room key, and you'll notice in the response payload that this key card string comes back. And this key card string can be shared with the key vendor, which can then deliver the digital key to the guest's mobile device. So Anne is officially checked into the hotel now. The next thing that Anne wants to do is she wants to do a few things during the day. So the first thing is she actually wants to request some towels. All right, so she's in her room, she's checked in, and she wants to say, hey, you know what? I need some extra towels for my room. Okay, so I'm going to have this request here that I call a service request API, and I'm going to send that request. I got a 201 created. And if I go back to Opera and I go back to my inventory area, rooms management, service requests, you can see here that I now have a brand new service request called towels. Okay, and I've requested 3 fresh towels to room 306. So the hotel staff will see that request and they can act on it accordingly. Next, Anne wants to notify the hotel that, hey, or she's going to use the mobile app actually to book a car service. She needs to get back to the hotel, to the airport tomorrow. So she's going to book this car service. And as a result of booking this car service through the mobile app, it's actually going to post a charge to her folio. All right. So this is a post billing charge API call. And you'll notice that it's going to be a $75 charge in this API payload to a specific transaction code 5016. And when I send that request off, I'll show you exactly how that ends up in Opera. And I'm going to go back to Anne's reservation, look at the in-house reservations today now that she's actually checked in. Okay, and we'll find Anne's reservation here. And I'm going to go ahead and look at the billing details. And you can see that I've now just posted that $7 transportation charge, okay, for Anne when she booked the car service back to the airport. So Anne wants to go ahead and also let the hotel know that she's going to be departing at 10 a.m. So she's going to add a departure time to her reservation using a put reservation request. And you'll see here that she's going to add her departure time at 10 a.m. So again, this will help the hotel prepare that she's going to be leaving at 10 a.m. So when the car arrives, they can be prepared to service her and take her right to the airport. So going back to the reservation, if I just do show more here, you'll notice that I have a departure time that's kind of undefined at the moment, okay? So if I go ahead and send this request off here for a 10 a.m. departure, again, I got a 201 okay, and I'm gonna navigate back to Opera and refresh the page, and just keep your eyes right here. It changed to 10 a.m., which is great. So now the hotel knows that she's gonna be leaving at 10 a.m. Excellent. Now, in the interest of actually doing this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to check out Anne early. Okay, normally you would run a night audit and Anne would depart the next day. But in order to actually get this moving for the demo, I need to actually check her out early. So I'm going to go here to the I want to section of the reservation here, and I'm actually going to do a checkout early request here. It's going to tell me that my departure date is going to change. I'm going to continue with the early departure. And I'm just going to go ahead and close this. And you'll notice here that the accommodation charges have been posted to the reservation. Okay, so now the total charge is $475 US, and that's the amount on Anne's folio at the moment. So Anne wants to have a look at her folio before she checks out. So using the mobile application, she's going to go ahead and request to see a copy of her folio. So when I hit send request here, I've actually got a 200 okay, and I just wanted to show a few things to you. First of all, you'll see the total amount of $475 here, and that's showing as revenue, and it shows in the balance. So it's quite a few details in this Get Folio response. It gives some profile information, and it also shows the individual postings. Okay, so I have $400 that got posted here to transaction code 1000. And then I have, again, another amount of $75. And if I scroll down, you can see that $75 was posted to transaction code 5016. Now, in the query parameters of this particular API request, which does have quite a few query parameters, I actually asked to include transaction code information in my response. So as I scroll down in this response, and let me just make this a little bigger so it's easier to see. As I scroll down in my response, you'll see that towards the bottom here, I have information about the actual transaction codes, and that starts right here. So I know that transaction code 1000 is an accommodation transaction code, and I know that transaction code 5016 is a transportation transaction code. So the point of all this is that as a mobile application, the mobile application can decide how they want to display all of this information to the guest, and all of the information is here at the fingertips based upon what was returned in the response. So let's say that Anne's viewed her folio. She says, great, it's $475. I'm good with that. So I'm now ready to check out. So the checkout option is presented to her, and she's going to attempt to do that right now. And guess what? Oh, we got a 400 bad request. Why is that? Well, it tells us here, and I did this on purpose to illustrate how our error handling and how our exception handling can be very useful for the calling system to assist in how to mediate the exception. So in this case, you can see here that we have a balance exists on one or more folios. The folio has to be settled before proceeding. So, great. I need to have this guest settle their folio. So what I'm gonna do is ask them to settle their folio, and I'm gonna behind the scenes make what's called a post-billing payment charge. Now here I've got a charge for purposes of this demonstration. It's just going to be a cash charge. It's going to be $475, but this could just as easily be a credit card charge. And if I go back to Opera, you can see that the balance is still $475. So I'm going to go ahead and send this request to post the billing charge. Again, I got a 201 created as indicated here. And if I navigate back to Opera and I refresh the page, which is our favorite thing to do, then you can see here that now my balance is $0. Okay, fantastic. So I have received a payment of $475. My balance is $0, and I'm actually ready to check out. So the next step in the process is to actually close the folio. Okay, so this is a step that Opera requires to actually close out the folio before checking out here. So I'm going to just request to close the folio. Okay, I got a 201 created. And then the very last thing I'm going to do is actually post the checkout. And I want you to notice in this payload that I'm going to indicate to the system what the room status should be in when I actually check it out. And in this case, because the guest actually stayed in the hotel, the room status should be flipped from inspected to dirty. And so that's what's going to happen with this API request. Before we post this off, I actually just want to show you that the status is currently on a departure status, okay? And if I go ahead and send this API request off now, I got a 201 okay. Flip back over to Opera in real time, and you can see by refreshing the page that this is now turned to a checked out status, and Anne has been able to check out of the hotel successfully. So we covered all aspects of, not all aspects, but 5 major aspects of the guest journey in a contactless way, from the booking, the pre-arrival, the check-in, while the guest was in-house, and during the checkout. And I hope that you can see that using our APIs, you can achieve this very easy way and a very flexible way. Our APIs offer a lot of capabilities and a lot of flexibility in terms of how data is retrieved and how data is actually written to the system. We have very fine-grained APIs, and we have APIs that can handle a lot of different capabilities in one single call. So it's really up to you on how you want to build this application, but this is just one example of how using our APIs and the power of our business capabilities exposed to those APIs can be used to support a contactless guest journey. So I put here on this page some helpful resources. First of all, we have our OHIP user guide, which has a wealth of information and pretty much describes how you onboard your application. It's kind of a reference to the first part of the demonstration that I showed you, where you can onboard your application and register your application into the OHIP developer portal. I mentioned to you about our API GitHub repository. It's a public repository that is accessed through the link that you see here on the screen. And then we also have over 1,000 recipes available on Postman. So what you saw today was just one example of a Postman collection that I use to demonstrate this contactless journey. There are a few other things that I want to make you aware of. One is that if you're interested in getting any assistance with building your integration, you can purchase assistance by going to our OHIP Premium Assistance link. And then we have the ability for partners to actually purchase the OHIP SKU by going to shop.oracle.com. And the link here and the navigation path is listed. And then for those customers that want to then see what partners have actually already published applications to our cloud marketplace, which can be purchased, kind of off the shelf and get going right away, you can visit the cloudmarketplace.oracle.com, and the link is there for you. So I want to thank you very much for taking the time to spend with me today during this hopefully very informative session about OHIP, again, our Oracle Hospitality Integration Platform. I'm very excited and pleased to have been able to share this information with you. And if you want any more information, please do visit oracle.com, where you will find all sorts of information about OHIP as well as our other products. So thank you all very much for joining me today, and have a great day.